Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to week 5 here in CE 155. Here in facilities layout and design. My God, it's gone so fast, hasn't it? Can you guys believe it's week 5 already? Man, that's Cinco 5. And there's only 2 assignments left. So Chef Suzanne and I welcome you to another fine live session. It's going to be a good program, a good class this evening. I really urge everybody out there, let's finish strong, right? We've got 2 assignments left, and we've really got to push to get ourselves right up there at the top, and I know we can all do it. And I'm really excited to take a look at everybody's final grades as we wind down. As a reminder, week 6, the due date is different than it is for the other weeks. You must submit your final assignment no later than Sunday night, September the 23rd at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. There will be no late submissions accepted. Ain't gonna happen. Done. No. So make sure next week, September the 23rd, Sunday, you submit your assignment no later than 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. I can say that in Spanish if anybody wants, just to make sure that we're all good across the board. But please, we want to make sure that everybody gets full credit. We want to help everybody in this course succeed. That is a big part of what we do. So if you need any help along the way, certainly reach out and let us know. Week 4, how did everybody like that? Anybody, Daryl, you got a big thumbs up? You rocked out on your assignment, by the way, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. David, what about you? How'd you like week 4? David?
Hey, I got a food truck, so it's kind of easy for a food truck.
Yeah? Yeah?
I think so.
Did you conceive anything from the project?
Yeah, you have to, with a food truck, because you're limited on space, you have to be very particular with every item you put inside that sucker. You have to have a use for it. You can't just have extra stuff in there just because you want it.
Yeah, that's a great point, man, because in restaurants we deal in feet. I think in food truck you deal in centimeters, because everything is so valuable. Melissa, what about you? How'd you like week 4?
I liked it. I mean, it was different, but I already had pretty much my kitchen already planned before it.
So you'd already thought it through, huh? How did everybody out there do with footsteps? Did anybody pay any thought to that throughout that? Anybody think about that? Aaron, did you think about footsteps?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
How on my cook line, and then behind me what I needed, and then
right.
Yeah, so
it's amazing, and I know Chef Suzanne's going to back me up on this one, but your dogs get awfully tired by the end of a 12-hour shift, and they don't want to be walking anymore. So you want to put those big bad boys up. So we really pay attention to that. How do we do with server access? Did anybody put any thought into that? Anybody think about server access into the kitchen? Daryl, what kind of thought did you put into that?
Well, I kind of wanted a even flow, as far as I didn't kind of want bunched up with them where they can have easy way in and out.
That's right.
So what I kind of did, I kind of made a exit and an enter.
There you go.
On my flow deal, I mean, as you can see on my design, you can see I kind of put it where it's like a circle flow. So I kind of wanted just to keep a flow going, and it's like a nonstop. I kind of took like several of my jobs that I worked on, and I looked at their kitchens, and I kind of broke them down. I was like, hey, it's better if I do it like this. It's efficient more if I do this right here and put this right here. Then heat won't be in the way. This won't be in the way. So it came out all right for me.
I think you're a very smart person because of something you just said. And that is that you took you took what you learned from exposure to other kitchens, right? And that is one of the hugest successes that we witness as chefs. Chef Suzanne, I'm sure that you've been in multiple kitchens before, right? And how did that help you, with your kitchen design and workflow and that type of thing?
Well, Daryl actually just said something that where he was talking about the in and outdoors for servers, and it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. Everybody can use the same door, but I just worked at a place not too long ago that had one door, servers in, servers out, that same door, and it was awful. There was and it was a really sharp corner too. By the time you met that person coming, you've already hit. Yeah. And those little things make such a huge difference. So taking those things that you learn from other places that I really liked this, but this was awful. And so that's, yes. That was the first thing he said. I was like, yes, the 2 doors. Every place should have 2 doors.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, like David with his food truck, it takes a lot of food trucks to make the perfect food truck. And it, like Daryl just said, a lot of kitchens to make the right kitchen layout. So, everybody out there has brought up some great points. Expose yourself as much as you possibly can before you make any decisions about what you're going to do. Because in this industry, there is no black and white answer to anything that you do. It ain't going to happen. It ain't out there. It's all about what you do. And the more knowledge you have, the better decisions you're going to be able to make. Chef Suzanne, what's your review on week 4?
Well, I am still grading, but got a lot done, and they looked really good. Some of the best things that I saw came from something that got overlooked a lot, but that I really think people were really focusing on this time, and that's keeping the hot equipment together. Because like you talked about, that hood vent is one of the biggest expenses that you're ever going to come across. So if you're going to have a little one here and a little one here and a little one here, that's a lot of money versus putting them all in one place, one big one. And as far as issues, refrigeration, the lack of refrigeration. Now there may be a walk-in way over there, but as far as being able to pivot and those short turns to just, here's the grill, turn around, there's the cooler to get my fries out of. That was probably one of the things that I saw issues with the most. But in general, they looked really, really good. And I know some folks said they would write in the comment that I've never worked in or been in a kitchen. And from where I'm sitting, I couldn't tell. If you didn't tell me,
awesome.
Not have known.
Oh man, that is awesome. That's great to hear. What about I know hand sinks are kind of a pet peeve in trash cans. How'd those come out?
I think trash cans more so than hand sinks, because we just think, oh, you can just slide a trash can underneath something. But in reality, there isn't. There really needs to be a place for them. So yeah, we did have some that forgot the trash can, but in general, they would look really good or spread throughout. They're, perfect placement. If there can be a perfect place for trash can, lots of perfect placement by the hand sink, either ends of the line, by big pieces of equipment, by a fryer. So just well thought out in the dish room, lots of trash cans. So really, really well done.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. I mean, so few people think about that. I can't tell you how many kitchens I've been in. And when your cooks are doing prep, right, at their workstation, you don't want them walking half a mile to dispose of something when you could easily have designed a trash can to fit underneath the counter right there at their workspace. And that's part of workflow that we're going to get into here in a few minutes. Chef Suzanne, you mentioned a couple of rock stars this week, and I wanted to share the screen. And if you wouldn't mind just pointing out some of the great things that you saw in these assignments. The first one we're going to take a look at is Suzette Curtis, and I took a look at this one, and it is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Suzette did a really nice job with hers. And I think what's so nice about this one is, she added a lot of things that we didn't require, but she, really went above and beyond to add the locker rooms, the supply closets, but just the things that we really did look for. All of her hot equipment is together. She's got an area for staging, like the pass-through with the heat lamps. She's got a prep area a well-defined dish room over on one side with everything she could possibly need over there. So just very, very well thought out for how she had everything set. So I like this one a lot.
Yeah, and I love the way she's got the restrooms laid out and the lockers. People don't realize that when we work in the restaurant industry, we stink, right? And it's kind of reality. You work 12 hours on the hotline. You get kind of greasy and stuff, and people like to change their clothes before they go home, and you certainly don't want them doing that in your public restrooms. And it's certainly not the most sightly thing either to see your chef not wearing much when you walk in there to use the restroom. So it's always a great idea to include this. The next one was DeMarcus Christmas, and this really impressed me too. What impressed you about this one?
I like this one because it's very straightforward. It's, he didn't reinvent the wheel. He took this is the layout exactly the way that it is for the layout tool. And he put the dish machine area, the dish area on the left where it really looks like it should go. And then he's got all that hot equipment together. And then he's also got an area up in the front where it looks like he's going to be making bread because there's a table with a mixer and then a proof box there. And then he's got the prep area for the servers. So he's thought about service staff. He's thought about, breads. He's thought about like the serving. The pass-through has steam wells along with a microwave and a heat lamp for all those plates and things for the servers to pick up. So he thought this through really well.
That's awesome. And then, yeah, I love this kitchen because it's not too big, it's not too small, but it's got all the spaces that you need. And then the another one that we really thought rocked out was Daryl's, right? And that was Daryl Johnson. Daryl Johnson Sr. Excuse me, Daryl. I forgot the senior part, right? We can't forget that. But I like this kitchen primarily because it's small, it's condensed, and when I look at it, I think operational cost, right? Efficient, effective, in and out. It doesn't have, it's not overly built, but it sounds like it's just going to accommodate exactly what he needs to do, and that's a big problem, isn't it?
Absolutely. I liked Daryl's because, like I just said with the last one, they really didn't reinvent the wheel, just took what was already there. Now, Daryl, he changed all the dimensions. He moved walls. He went, I don't like this. This is what I want. And I could tell that he had a vision in his mind, and obviously it's from other businesses that he's worked at, that he just kind of combined together to come up with his own. But again, he's got the hotline all together. He's got that pass-through. He's got a great big dish area and a prep area, and everything is kind of separated. So there's not going to be a lot of crowds anywhere. So everybody's got their own little world.
Yep. So awesome job, everybody. There were a lot of really rock star assignments this week, and we really appreciate that. And it's great to see people growing, especially in this part of the industry. And, these are tools that you will carry with you. I know not everybody's going to be an executive chef. I know not everybody's going to be some mogul with 100 restaurants underneath their belt out there, but every single one of you will be involved in some form of back of the house design in your career. I guarantee it, right? So that is awesome. So great job, everybody, on week 4. Moving on to week 5 is our next thing. Before we step into week 5, though, we're going to reiterate Sunday, September the 23rd, 11:59. Your final assignment is due. Do not forget, there are no late assignments for your final submission in CE 155. Facility layout and design. So week 6 is due Sunday, September the 23rd at 11:59 p.m. So make sure that you get it done. Did I say Central Standard Time?
I believe so. Did y'all realize how close that was? I mean, that is so close.
It's right around the corner, man. Where did all the time go? Let's check out this week's class page, everybody. To make sure that we are all on the same page, so to speak. And this week, week 5, we're going to talk a little bit about exterior design and landscaping today and how it plays in to your restaurant, and that is applicable to food trucks as well down there, David. So we want to make sure that we're going to tune into that just a little bit. Live session. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Once again, if you can't make a live session, we always have the link to the live session archive right here. And then this week, we're going to talk about this here in just a moment, our discussion, a peer review, which can be one of the most difficult things to go through, but one of the most beneficial experiences of your life to get honest feedback from your peers. It'll certainly help you grow. And then down here is our assignment. So that's what our class page looks like this week. And then talking a little bit about the exterior and the landscape. It's an extremely critical part of your concept. Some places have to go insane. Some places have to go real low key. We're going to talk about some of the benefits of that here in just a moment. The discussion board this week. Do not forget, ladies and gentlemen, that it is required that your initial post is completed by Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Very, very important to remember that, because you don't want to get that mixed up with Mountain Time, or because I'm in Arizona and things don't change. But the rest of the country is still catching up. But the discussion board this week, you are going to post your restaurant concept, and you're also going to post a brief synopsis of your summary of your concept as well. And then your peers are going to provide you some feedback on that. I think that is, it's an invaluable tool. Some of you might feel a little bit uncomfortable doing that. I will make you a guarantee, and so will Chef Suzanne. She's 100% on board with this. You will grow from the exercise. Is that true, Chef Suzanne? Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to, what's that?
I said yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're providing criticism to fellow students, it's very, very important. Criticism is designed to help people improve and help people grow. And that's why we share with one another, right? And I used to tell my students at another school, we don't provide criticism to make people look bad and make ourselves look good. We provide criticism to help people grow, and that's what we're interested in reading. So if you have suggestions or comments regarding somebody else's design, post them in a very positive fashion, and that really can help the other students out as well as helping yourself out. So that is this week's discussion board, due Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure that you get that done. So moving on to exterior and landscape, which is part of your research materials this week. And I highly recommend, for those of you that are interested in doing a concept, follow up on these research materials, extremely valuable. When you approach a facility, right, the exterior of that facility is going to set the tone for your dining experience. We've been to a Chili's before, right? Chili's restaurant has a big, bright red chili. It's got landscaping. It's got the red brick. It sets the tone for what you are about to experience. One of the best, I ate at one of the world's top 50 restaurants in Mexico City not too long ago. And as we could not find the facility, and it was in a plain building with no signage and only a door. Right? It took 6 months to get a reservation in this place, but it set the tone for the dining experience. Low key, slick, indiscreet, right? Only the privileged that knew about it could get into it. So that set the tone. So what you do on the outside of your building is extremely critical. One of my restaurants, I did an ornate exterior. And I will talk to you from personal experience. You do not want to worry about watering the roses and trimming the hedge when you've got a banquet to put out, right? It is a painful experience. As you are designing the exterior and the landscaping of your restaurant, remember, what you put on the outside of your restaurant is going to cost you what you do on the inside of the restaurant. So if you design an exterior that has a tremendous amount of maintenance involved, it's going to be a big monthly expense, right? You're going to be paying something, and part of your profits are going right out to maintain the front. There is no standard rule of thumb about whether you need palm trees or whether you need shrubs or whether you need cactus. It does not matter. But my only word of advice is put thought into it from a financial standpoint and from an operational standpoint, and always consider the customer's view on this. A food truck, for example, right? If you park your food truck in an area that's located next to 2 dumpsters, right, that people are constantly throwing trash in, or people are dumpster diving in it, it's going to set the tone for that customer's dining experience. However, I think David was mentioning about where he wanted to put his food truck, and that was pretty impressive. It sounded like a nicer area of town. That will set the tone for what I expect off of that food truck as I approach it, right? If you're going to do al fresco dining, make sure that you are not dealing with plants and trees that are going to get into your customer's food, or potentially drop things down onto your patio. I've seen that happen, and it can be a very uncomfortable experience. Let's take a look at a couple of facilities here that really kind of point out what we're talking about here. If I was to approach this first facility right up here, as I'm walking in, that place to me kind of screams croque monsieur, quiche, poached salmon salad with a strawberry balsamic vinaigrette, something like that, right? You can tell by the design of the exterior, it's got a slightly feminine edge to it, which tends itself to some lighter, more robust foods. So the exterior of this facility really speaks volumes about what to expect. When I come down here and I take a look at this place, it comes out onto the sidewalk. It's got plants in boxes. It's got the awnings out here, and it's got a view of the street. I look at it and I think to myself, baguette, right? I think to myself, it could be more
coffee. Lots of coffee.
Lots of coffee, right?
Coffee when I see that.
Yeah, see, exactly. And you might be thinking scones. You might be thinking about some type of fresh baked pastry. So it really screams volumes about what it is before I even get in there. Exterior design and landscaping can also be included into your monthly budget as a part of marketing, right? The exterior of these 2 facilities over here really market the facility. That is an actual advertisement. When I look at this place down here, this looks like the type of place if I was really, really hungry to and there's nowhere else to go, I'd go to it. Because it looks like it's a nice facility. It's clean. It's straight. It's basic. And it looks like it's there just to get you in and out, right? That's not the kind of place that you're going to take your fiance to propose. Just taking a look at the outside of it. It ain't going to happen, man. Right? So that speaks volumes. It tells me it's fast food, right? It's quick service. So if I take a look at this place up here, this place looks to be set in some type of strip center. It looks like it could be either a Mexican facility, some type of Latin foods, casual restaurant, not very, very fancy. And then down over here, this is a very sleek, no signage, very discreet, very well kept. So, when I go into this place, I should pull my American Express out because I think I'm going to need it. So these facilities really speak volumes just based on their exterior design. So when you're putting together your front of the house, also remember the outside of it. But once again, don't dump tons of money into your exterior, because if you do, what you do on the interior is going to be paying for your exterior, and it gets expensive after a little while, trust me. Been there, done that. Taking a look at this week's assignment, ladies and gentlemen. Workflow. not the most exciting subject, is it? Huh? It is radically important when we design our facilities. Workflow. Could you guys, ladies and gentlemen, could you imagine designing a city without stop signs and stoplights and just letting those roads go wherever they want, right? That's exactly what happens when you design a restaurant and don't take into consideration the workflow. It is a critical element to your success, right? I mean, there's few workplaces in this world that are as dramatic and as chaotic as a commercial kitchen. Am I right, Chef Suzanne? Yeah. I mean, it's a fast-paced, chaotic environment, and unless you choreograph it exactly, you're going to have a lot of bumps and inefficiently. I mean, that daily hustle and bustle, it does become kind of a high-speed choreograph, and you will all learn that once you get into industry. Something about workflow, too. When you get into the commercial kitchen, you as a cook are primarily concerned with what's on your cutting board. When you become an executive chef or a sous chef, your primary concern is no longer your cutting board, but the entire facility, right? How things work, why they work, where they go, everything. You broaden your horizon. You start with the cutting board, you end with the entire facility. It is critical, and this exercise really helps you get into that frame of mind of being an executive chef. Basically, what the workflow is all about, it's all about understanding the flow of product, the movement of product, and the understanding of what people do, when they do it, how they do it, and where they need to do it. So it is extremely critical. Taking a look up here on our screen, you know, good design, these are just some basic principles that you need to take into consideration when you're working on this exercise this week, or once you start working in your own facility, right? So good design for workflow, you have to start with when the product arrives, right? Where is it going to come into? Then you have to think about once it comes in, where is it going to go, right? Who's going to put it there? Right? This stuff doesn't levitate, right? So you have to figure out a way to get it there. Then, once that food is stored, it's got to go into preparation. So you have to have a path, a flow to get into the preparation. Once it's prepared, you have to create a flow for cooking, right? Food does not go walk in, cook, dining room. It doesn't work that way, right? Food has a lot of steps that it takes throughout your facility. Once you've cooked it, where are you going to hold it, right? That's another part of the flow, right? Don't leave any of these steps out, right? Food service area, right? That's your dining room, and we're not going to worry about that for this exercise. But then also part of your workflow is the conclusion of the dining experience, right? So we've received it, we've stored it, we've prepped it, we've cooked it, we held it, we served it. Now we have to wash it, right? And then we have to worry about waste disposal. It's a critical part. So when we talk about workflow, it is from A to Z, right? You cannot start in the middle of it, otherwise you're going to have a disaster in your kitchen. Been there, done that many, many times. And what this workflow is going to do for all of you, it's going to prevent bottlenecks, wasted time, and wasted effort in your kitchen. Wasted effort is designed by having to walk to get a box, walk back, take it out of the box, walk back, throw the box away, walk back, cook the food. That's wasted effort. But if I can design a facility where I can grab the box, take it out of the box, throw it away at my workstation, prep it, and then serve it, I've just saved myself a lot of money because now I'm not paying that guy to walk all over my kitchen. And trust me, you don't want cooks wandering all over the place. Workflow helps to eliminate confusion. Chef Suzanne can back me up on this. If we walk into any kitchen generally we can immediately identify where the work areas are. Is that right, Chef Suzanne?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you could walk into the last kitchen I worked at. You could tell me where my bakery is, couldn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, and then you could probably find my walk-ins,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we think we're in that frame of mind of a chef because we've learned this workflow through exposure, through accidents, through disasters, and through successes. So I really need to learn this, and it's extremely critical. And then having designed multiple kitchens and instituted them without thorough workflow design, you are headed for a complete disaster. It is it is without a doubt going to happen. So you're gonna learn this here and then over the next few minutes. Kitchens, and we've been talking to you about this over the past couple of weeks, right? You guys did your back of the house design, and when you did your first slide, you had to list little areas where things were going to be produced, you know, on the salamander, on the grill, everything else, right? Kitchens are broken down into what we call zones. Just like a city has a zip code, just like the country has area codes, kitchens have zones as well, right? Each zone in the kitchen is specifically designated for a task. Does that make sense to everybody? Right? We don't really cross our zones. That's not good, man. We keep them separate and clean, right? So we don't want to be doing dishes in our prep area, and we don't want to be baking bread on our grill. We have to segregate and designate all of our zones in the kitchen. It's extremely important. In a kitchen where your cooks and your service staff are squeezing past equipment and other staff members, it's not only inconvenient, but it's also extremely dangerous. And accidents are one of the biggest concerns that we have as chefs in the kitchen. I have seen some gnarly things take place in my career over the last 37 years in the kitchen. I had one guy that was working on a meat slicer, and it was poorly laid out. Somebody walked behind him, banged into him, and he took the palm of his hand off on the meat slicer. And if we would have had better workflow in the kitchen, that wouldn't have happened, right? We had deep fryers that when you drain them, you had to walk an extreme amount of distance, and you couldn't push carts because it wasn't laid out well enough. We had a guy that dropped 5 gallons of 350-degree oil down his chest, right? He was a deep fried Twinkie. You know, fortunately he made it, but it was a bad thing. And those are all due to poor workflow, and it's extremely dangerous. The amount of money that we lose in the restaurant industry because of workplace injuries is insane. Insane. Chef Suzanne, how many times have you been bumped into in the kitchen?
I couldn't even tell you. I'm a big girl, so people bump into me, and I bump into them, and it's rough. And you know, aside from the cost associated with it, one of the worst feelings in the entire world is if you're responsible for somebody else getting hurt. It's just the worst. You know, I don't want to get myself hurt either, but hurting someone else is the worst. It is a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
So,
you ever been bumped into when you're at your cutting board and you're working with your chef's knife?
oh yes.
Yeah.
First time I got cut in the kitchen was because I was on my very first day in the kitchen. I was not sure I was going to go back. Ended up having to go get stitches, and the guy who hit me got fired. It was his first day. Wow.
Somebody actually bumped into my wife while holding a chef's knife, and it went into her leg. And you know, it's this poor workflow design is what happened in some of these instances. And you know, you can't control somebody not paying attention, but you certainly can control your physical environment to the best of your ability. So workflow is a huge thing. Another thing that workflow does, proper workflow, is it prevents cross-contamination and the spread of chemical poisoning, foodborne illness, and that type of thing as well. That's why we have a tendency to segregate these environments. That's why we don't want you thawing out chicken in the hand sinks. That's why we don't want you washing dishes in the vegetable prep sink. because this workflow chart that you're going to be doing this week is going to help you understand, you know, how to keep these things separate. And it's not that we're trying to prevent the lettuce from playing with the tomatoes, or we don't want the chicken pecking on the corn. It ain't nothing like that. We have to keep everything segregated so to prevent cross-contamination and the spread of foodborne illness. It's extremely important. Daryl kind of touched on this a little bit earlier at the beginning of this class. And, you know, he mentioned that he had been into several other kitchens and kind of looked around and kind of helped him create his design. When you become a chef, or when you start working as a cook in a restaurant, you have to learn to pay attention to your existing workflow design. It tells you things, right? Do not ignore it, right? It's kind of like my wife. I've tried to ignore her before, and it ain't happening, man. She always wins. Workflow was going to tell you, hey, this is a very dangerous corner, like Chef Suzanne was talking about with servers, right? You need to install a round mirror up there so you can see people coming around to create better workflow, right? Your workflow tells you, hey, that chicken is dripping on top of that meat, right? Listen to it. It's going to save you a lot of money down the road. Another great way to help you out with workflow is talk to your staff members, right? Talk to the people that are in your kitchen. Walk around, right? You know, like Chef Aaron down there, Chef Melissa, Chef Mona, Chef Val, Chef Yvette, you know, or Anissa, you know, walk around, talk to your other cooks in the kitchen, right? Hey, is this laid out well? Does this make sense, right? Intercommunication with your culinary staff, 99% of the time, they have the answers, right? You've got to get yourself out of the way to listen to them, and they can save you a lot of money in the long run. Here's a couple of things you got to do that are very, very important, okay? When you get into actual industry and you go to design your workflow, right, you have to create operational procedures. Operational procedures and job descriptions tell people what, when, where, and how to do things, right? You cannot design a facility on the assumption that people understand what, where, and when, and how to do things. You, as the chef, have to design that facility and design those positions to fit within the facility. Does that make sense? And you also have to create standard recipe cards. It is critical. Standard recipe cards, beyond the obvious of creating consistency, beyond the fact that they do create profitability, beyond the fact they do prevent a lot of problems from going wrong, they tell you exactly the flow of food throughout your facility, right? You cannot assume things are going to work. You have to have it on a standard recipe card. It is extremely critical, that things. Something else that you really have to understand too, you're going to pull a couple of menu items out for this week's exercise that we're going to get to here in just a second. You really have to understand your cooking times and your prepping times, right? If you only have 2 convection ovens in your kitchen, and you serve a steamship round every Sunday for your buffet, right? That means your convection oven, or one of your ovens, is going to be blocked for 6 to 8 hours, right? If you don't understand the cooking times and the prep times, if, let's see, Val opens up a French restaurant and she's serving duck confit or confit de canard, and that duck has got to braise in its own fat for 6 hours, right? Boom, you just killed an oven for 6 hours. So you have to understand your cooking and your prep times. It's very, very important. And I'm sure Chef Suzanne can certainly help me out on this next one. I've been in so many kitchens that I've taken over. I walk in and I ask one of the people around there and say, hey, what's your job? Oh, I do whatever. Excuse me? Where do you work at? Oh, I help whoever needs help. What is this, the Special Olympics? No, everybody in the kitchen has to have a specific job, right? If you are the dishwasher, right? It is your responsibility to maintain the dish area, wash the dish area, and control the flow, right? If you are a line cook, it is your responsibility to produce the food for the customer, right? If you are the prep cook, it is your responsibility to prep. Too many kitchens, right? In order to save money, create these multiple positions where they have people walking around doing whatever to help whomever, and then they wonder why things never get done. Well, it's because it's nobody's specific job. So you have to make sure, right? Like with Chef David down there, you know, with your food truck, you know, it's got to be somebody's specific job to maintain those cabinets that you were talking about, those cool, holding cabinets that you've come up with your concept. It has to be somebody's specific responsibility to maintain that, right? Because if not, it falls through the crack and then things happen. So that's extremely critical. Once you develop and you guys have a good workflow in your kitchen, workflow is just like another employee. It needs to be managed, right? You cannot assume that since you started it, that you can walk away and leave it alone. You've got to take care of it. You've got to be there with it, right? So, and it's workflow. Chef Suzanne, am I right in saying that workflow is constantly changing?
Absolutely. Especially when things on the menu change. So a workflow can change if a menu item changes. Workflow can change if you've got new equipment, new people. You may have to adjust how something is done. So lots of things can adjust and affect your workflow in your kitchen.
That's right. It's critical. Let's take a look at this week's actual assignment. So we are all on the same page or monitor. Would that be more appropriate, Chef Suzanne? All on the same monitor.
I like page.
You like page? Okay.
I'm old school. We'll go with same page.
But then we could call it slide because technically these are slides. Yeah. So this is way too much. Okay, we're off track. Refocus. All right. So taking a look at our actual assignment for week 5 here. We're going to be choosing 2 menu items from slide 1. And then you're going to mark them with a colored workflow label. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a moment. And then you're going to map out the workflow for each one of these restaurant layouts. So it's my recommendation, and probably Chef Suzanne's as well, if you're doing some grilled steaks and this kind of stuff, try to get one from different stations so you have a better understanding. So if you have a steak dish and then you also have a salad, maybe grab the steak and the salad and leave the other hot items there, so you have a better understanding of creating this flow. Using the same colors, you're going to mark your menu items. You're going to drag and drop the number of workflows that show the workflow of that item, right? So every time a different piece of equipment is used, including sinks, prep tables, and the like, put the next number in sequence by that piece of equipment in your layout. Everybody understand that? And this is on your facility layout sheet right here. So it's there available for you. And then I did this real quick, and I know this isn't complete, but over here, let me exit this real quick here. If we go up to this particular one right here, I just pulled down 2 menu items and put them into the station map. This is what you've all have done during week 1. And so I'm going to grab the red label and put it next to the duck confit. And then I will grab the green label and I'll put it next to the Caesar salad. Whatever colors or combinations you want to do, that's up to you. That's your call. I don't think Chef Suzanne's going to be too concerned about whether you're color coordinated with your dishes or not. So you're going to go ahead and click and drag those down. And then once we're in the actual assignment, you're going to proceed to the next slide, which will have your kitchen. The kitchen, this is Daryl's kitchen up here. Do you mind if I use this, Daryl? Yeah, okay. So now I know that my duck confit is red and that my Caesar salad is green, right? So I know that, hey, I got to store my duck is going to be stored in the walk-in, right? Does that make sense? So I clicked and I dragged it over there. And then I'm going to take my duck and I'm going to move it into the prep area over here, because I take it from the walk-in, then I take it to the prep area. And then after I prep my duck out, I need to put it into my oven. So that will be number 3, right? And then when my duck comes out, I need to refrigerate it again, right, to cool it down before I can serve it. I should cool it down before I put it in the walk-in, actually, but that's fine. And then when I go to serve my duck, I'm going to take it and I'm going to cook it off on the line. And then I'm going to give the duck to the customer by placing it in the hot window right here, right underneath the heat lamps, and it's going to go out to the kitchen. Does everybody understand that? Anybody, did I explain that pretty well, Chef Suzanne?
Yes. Just some tidbits of information. There has to be at least 3 steps, because the whole idea is to see if things are in a logical place and make sure that there's not a lot of wandering around the kitchen or overlapping. So if chef were to draw a line and connect the dots on these, is that employee or employees who are going to be making that, are they going to be wandering all over? And so Daryl may decide that the prep table at number 2 maybe is kind of out of the way. So that would make him maybe possibly move that table to a different location, so that basically all of his numbers would be more towards the right side of his kitchen. And that's the whole idea, is to try and make sure that there's not all that foot traffic and bumping into people and, you know, things, you know, all over the place.
It's designing your, those are great comments, Chef Suzanne. And those, it's designing the roads and your freeways in the city. And that's really what you're doing. We just talked about why those are so beneficial. And, you know, this is where it's all at here. And then, if, you know, the same thing with my Caesar salad, you know, I've got it stored over here. I was using the storage as the walk-in, but, you know, I start with my lettuce there, you know, and then I'm going to prep it out back on the prep table. Now I take a look and I realize I'm prepping raw lettuce next to the duck that I'm butchering. So we talked about the cross-contamination issues. So now I've learned, hey, you know, I've got some workflow congestion here. I can't be prepping salad out next to the raw duck. You know, it's not a healthy thing to be doing. So then I realized, hey, well, maybe I've got to be prepping on the table over here. But then all of a sudden I realized that, you know, hey, it's a long walk. So there's a lot of thought process that goes into this whole thing. So that is the basic mechanics of this week's assignment. So does anybody have any questions? David, what you got, man?
I noticed that all the doors on refrigeration or anything, it seems like they all open. Can you change the way the doors open up so that way the doors aren't in somebody's walkway and stuff like that? Because I noticed that might run into somebody's flow.
Let's let me check this out here real quick. And that's a great point, because doors are when they go to install the equipment in a restaurant, the installation tech will generally ask you which way you want your doors, because they're generally universal as far as the installment. So David, through your workflow design in your food truck, you're going to know, hey, I need my door opening to the left or opening it to the right. And if you think it through properly, it's going to save you a lot of money from having a tech. I don't see these doors as being able to rotate. You can actually rotate the object, but I don't see the actual door itself being able to rotate on this. Is that correct, Chef Suzanne?
I think there is a way to flip it, but as far as, you know, we don't do that for grading purposes, but you're correct. You would definitely want to do that if you were doing this for your actual facility, but for our purposes, you don't have to worry about that. But you are absolutely correct. The doors should face whichever way you need them to. It's kind of like your kitchen cupboards. You know, you want your doors open a certain way, so same exact thing.
Good question. Lynn, what's your question?
Statement, actually. The red doors.
Uh-huh.
You can rotate them so they open in different directions.
Ah, cool. Okay. That's good information.
Yes.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Yeah, so that's those are good pointers. Thank you, David, for bringing up that level of detail, which I appreciate, because a lot of people won't catch that until it's too late. Like me, I've done it, not only at work, but in my house as well. So don't tell my wife, but you know, that's a level on the mentality that you really need when it comes to workflow design. So you know, certainly this week when Chef Suzanne is taking a look at your assignments, I think she's going to have some concern towards cross-contamination and some other things taking place. Let's take a look at the actual rubric this week and see what we got going on here. You're going to need to justify, I didn't talk too much about this right here, but you're going to need to explain why labor projections from food and beverage cost control work with this design. And to give you an example of what that means, with Daryl's Kitchen at 700 square feet, if you have a kitchen staff of 15, you're going to have concerns, right? Because you're all going to be slipping and tripping all over each other, and you certainly don't want that. So you're going to have to give an explanation of why your labor projections from the food and beverage cost control work with this design, right? So there has to be a brief explanation as to why your concept and why your volume and everything else is going to work in this kitchen. You're going to talk about the ingredients and stations are easily accessible for menu item 1. Remember, we're going to do that with 2 menu items. Flow has no interruptions. So for example, if your walk-in is on one side of the kitchen and you have to prep on the other side of the kitchen, and in the middle of that area, the servers are going in and out, that's not good, right? Because you're going to have congestion. So you're going to have to make sure that you prevent that from happening. And then the same thing for menu item 2. And then the flow has no interruptions. Once again, items have a place to be stored or a clear path to be delivered to FOH, okay? So what that means, once that food is prepared, it's got to have a clear way to get out to the front of the house. A clear way would not be defined as going through the dish area. A clear way would not be defined as going through the prep area. It has to go directly out through the kitchen doors, right? So it's pretty cut and dry. Make sure that you do include your summary up here with your clear and concise summary, which I'm sure most of you guys have been doing already. Chef Suzanne, is there anything else that you wanted to add to this?
One of the best ways to figure out if you've done it right is to literally draw a line and follow. You know, if it's a nice straight line or looks like a letter C or a U, that's good. You know, if it's all on one side of the kitchen, but if it looks like some sort of football, you've got 1, 2, 4, 7, and no, you don't want that. And so what'll happen is if you turn it in like that, I will see that, and then you'll have to redo it, you know, or for a higher grade, you'll have to redo it. So just look at it. Does it make sense? Are they going to, is that one cook going to be running laps around the kitchen to get things done? Do you have a piece of equipment blocking where they need to go? So they have to go all the way around the kitchen to get to something.
Right.
That's exactly what you'll need to do, is make those adjustments. That's the whole purpose of this, is to try and get things in the best possible place to help with the flow in your kitchen.
Yeah. That's a great point. I ran one kitchen for many years, and the food storeroom was downstairs, which made it extremely difficult. And then the sub storeroom was in the back of the kitchen. You had to walk by the dish pit to deliver the product, which was generally on push carts and everything else. And so you had servers, cooks, bus people, and then receiving and shipping people all going through that one area right there. Complete disaster, right? It was like the I-5 in Seattle. It just wasn't going anywhere. Yvette, what's your question?
Okay, now I know for I'm doing a catering concept, so I know it's going to be very similar as far as the flows of the kitchen, but I won't have servers coming in and out. My stuff will either be going out to the car to be delivered or to be prepared if they have like a kitchen at a catering hall to be prepped and then cooked in their ovens for, to cut out time. So,
Right,
I mean,
right. No, that's perfectly fine as well. What you're talking about, you're not going to be dealing with service area, but you are going to have a staging area in a.
okay, and that's what I'm asking, how it's going to be a little bit different, because I get the first part from the kitchen to like the prep area, and it's just once it comes out of the oven, then what?
That will go into your staging area. The staging area traditionally is going to have what we call Queen Mary's or hot boxes, and that's where the food product. You're going to have hotel pans, 200 pans or half pans, whatever you're doing on your buffet. They're going to be wrapped, sealed, and then they're going to go into that hot box, which will then become your staging area, which you will also have Queen Mary's as well that have just straight shelving on them that you will be storing all of your garde manger stuff, your chilled product, and everything else before you take it out to your vehicle or to be delivered to wherever it's going. So just
Okay.
Chef Suzanne should be able to pick up on that by reading your
Yeah.
summary.
So instead of going to a server pass out to be picked up by a server, it'll go into a hot box or a holding cabinet.
Right, okay, okay. Thank you.
Does anyone have any other questions, comments? Yeah? Lynn, what's up? I can't hear you, Lynn. What's that?
I'm also doing catering.
What's
So
that? You are? Okay.
I'm also catering.
Uh-huh.
So what I did was I went to where the food trucks are and set up a trailer for taking my food from the kitchen to the venue.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have cooking in that trailer for venues that don't have a kitchen.
Nice. Yeah, I like it. That's what we call finishing work. When you're finishing off product in a mobile kitchen like that or a temporary kitchen, it's where you've actually cooked it, prepared it somewhere else, and then you're just going to be finishing off. So that's a great concept. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? No? Ladies and gents, let's keep our fellow chefs in mind and their families as they go through that hurricane in South Carolina. So let's keep our fingers crossed that they all get through it safely and in one piece. If anybody has any questions regarding this assignment or their particular assignment, make sure that you reach out to myself or Chef Suzanne. Our phone numbers are listed on the right-hand side of the class page for your convenience. We look forward to everybody having a great week. Stay in touch. If I don't hear from anybody, take care. Bye-bye.